Shane, you're up next, bud. Here we go. Shane, you're not just a branch manager and executive vice president for sales for Dwell Mortgage, a mortgage company that you're actually part owner of. You're also own an insurance company, a coaching company, and you're currently in the process of building out a shared workspace facility in Everett, Washington to house your many businesses and provide affordable office space to other local businesses in the downtown Everett area. Shane, how do all these pieces fit together, and did you always know that you're going to be a successful entrepreneur?
I'm exhausted just hearing the list. You remind yourself all these things you work on, but I think like everybody, it came together by happen chance, a lot of it.
Okay.
My dad was an entrepreneur. He actually was one of the founders of Horizon Air.
Really?
But I went to college. So I went to college thinking I was going to be a business guy and wear a suit. I got very bored in math class, and I decided I wanted to be a fireman. I liked breaking things better than I liked calculating math.
Sure.
Became a volunteer fireman, became a full-time fireman, worked in the fire department for 12 years at one of the busiest stations on the West Coast, and loved every minute of it. Halfway through that, I had a moment where I hurt myself on the job. I had a roof collapse on me in a fire, and I thought, wow, I've got to have a backup plan. My dad had died when I was very young, and so having that moment where you lose your father, I remember he went to the hospital one day and never came back. He had cancer, and my mom had to take him off life support. So having that as a tangible memory, I just decided I needed to have something to fall back on, something different. Got my mortgage license, kind of like everybody, not, because that's what I dreamed of becoming,
Sure.
but just had to have something to do when I was not working at the fire department. Started building my mortgage business. Got to the point where my business coach said to me, "What are you doing? You're jumping over hundreds to pick up pennies."
Okay.
And it was a complete lack of confidence that I kept that job, which is ironic because you look at firemen as being confident people.
Sure.
And I was completely unconfident. And I decided that if I was a stock, I asked myself a question: would I buy myself if I was a stock?
Good question. I like that.
And this was 7 years ago, and I said, you know what? I don't think I would. And so I made a change. I made a shift, and I said, I'm going to go all in on myself, and I'm going to become an entrepreneur. I surrounded myself with like-minded people that were positive. I said, I'm not going to be like everybody else, because I had experiences when I got into lending, same thing. Guy in a Range Rover would drive up to the office, would go in his office, close the door, and hide all of his great ideas. And I'm this new guy trying to figure out what to do. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So I just started to be me and care less.
Sure. Okay.
Started to wear my hat backwards, started to do videos back in 2012 when nobody was really doing
In
videos.
2012 even.
I was doing
Wow.
video email before people were doing video email.
That's incredible.
And a part of it was because I had to be different because I was still a full-time fireman.
Sure.
So there's that old quote, if you want to get something done, give it to a busy man or woman. And you find creative ways to get things done.
Yes.
So I started building my mortgage business, and then I quickly decided, I think like Cindy, that I loved helping other people be successful more than being successful myself.
Love that.
That was my true success. So then I thought, well, man, if I can do it with a loan, can I do it with other aspects of this consumer's life?
Sure.
It's like Amazon. Amazon started selling books.
Right.
Now they sell everything.
Sure.
And it's about the experience. They have an experience that people enjoy. That's why they keep going back. And so I thought, well, what else can I do? I added in insurance. Then I thought, I have a pretty unique story. I got from zero to where I am just by sweat and grit and hard work and some creativity and ignoring what everybody else was saying. I thought maybe I can help other people do the same thing.
Okay.
So I started our coaching platform. We have over 200 members now nationwide.
Wow.
We're about to meet in Florida with a group of people, and it's just, again, we peel back the curtain. We share everything we do. We laugh about our faults. We learn more from our failures and our mistakes than we do the things we do well, right? And then I decided that I wanted to go in and build my own space. I liked the idea of design, functional space, and so I thought I'd build my own co-working space.
I love that, Shane. I have to tell you, I'm super impressed with you, man.
Thank you, man.
We had lunch a few years ago.
We did.
And you were just starting your company, one of your companies. And I was just at your office, just
a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, a few weeks ago. You're still smiling, laughing, having a great time, and you're the guy in charge. How do you accomplish so much and still you kind of make it seem like you're not even that busy?
Well, when you're a fireman, you move really fast. And so that was always our slogan, was work hard, move fast, be honest, right? And so I've just always done that. People always joke that I'm caffeinated 24/7.
For sure you are.
I love it if they think that, if that's the competitive edge they think I have. I grew up with not a lot. I built a lot just through hard work, and I'm super thankful. And I think for me, the most important thing is remaining grounded. So you asked me, what's your accomplishment? Like, what was your numbers? And I'm like, man, I really don't look at the number, to Adrian's point. I really don't care about that. I think that if you do the right thing, the number will come.
Sure.
And so for me, what I was most proud of last year is we were able to donate more as a company than I had made as a fireman years past.
That's right.
And that was my thing for me, is like, man, I'm able to give more than I take. And I think that's huge. And if you do that and you don't care what other people think about you, like the naysayers out there, the haters that are gonna be like, you really shouldn't, wear a hat backwards, and run a mortgage company. It's really a blue collar industry or white collar industry. I'm like, yeah, it's really not, man. That's just not my thing, right? Yeah. And so I just embraced being myself, having fun.
Yes.
And so we listen to rap music at the office.
Yes.
We have fun. We do Taco Tuesdays every week. We have electric scooters that we ride around the office, because I think Cindy mentioned it. Lending is not necessarily the least stressful job. Yeah. And talking about numbers, people don't want to buy a mortgage. They want to have a home. They want to have a dream. Yeah. We're the conduit to that they have to go through. Sure. They don't necessarily enjoy the process. So how can we make that process fun?
Love that. So funny. So walking into your office, I'm looking around, branding everywhere. You walk in, smile on your face, and the first thing I see are these sweet scooters in your office. So I'm asking him, like, why do you have scooters in your office? He's like, you don't?
Yeah, why don't you have a scooter in your office is the question.
I was like, good question. Yeah.
Hey, and the reality is last year was an incredibly stressful year for everybody in our industry. And we all were extremely blessed with, to have our best years ever, most of us.
Sure.
We also worked way too much, and my staff worked way too much, and that was a constant reminder for me is, what can I do to love on my people? So we got the scooters for my staff.
That's awesome.
I said, hey, we stocked our kitchen with food all day, so it's like you can always take a break, get on the scooter, go grab coffee, have fun. We give swag to all of our people constantly, and just because we want this to feel like their second home, because the reality is for most of our staff, we see them more than they see their family.
Right.
And that's a big responsibility for me.
Sure. Absolutely love that. Did you always know that you were going to be a successful business owner?
I had zero clue. I still don't know.
Come on.
I'm just having fun, and I learned to take risk, because if you ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen if this doesn't work? And the reality is, the worst thing that could happen
it's not that bad.
It's really not that bad.
Yeah.
I think when I did the exercise, the worst thing that could happen for me was I'd be a bartender in Hawaii. My wife and I would be sleeping in a hammock.
Sure.
And I'm like, man,
doesn't suck.
That's where we go on vacation, right? So I think if you just don't take yourself so seriously, right? And you're willing to just put yourself out there and say, what if it does work?
Sure.
Instead of what if it doesn't? I think that's been huge for me.
Awesome. One more question. So you have all these businesses. Are these businesses that you decided to start and put other people in charge of, or are these businesses that were already there and you decided that I could utilize my resources and my know-how to elevate what you're already doing? Help me understand how these businesses...
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm a builder by nature. I like to build things. So I did build most of it from the ground up. I built my own brand. I built my own kind of design for our office, our team, the structure. And so that for me was just fun. I'm kind of like the mad scientist.
Sure.
But now I'm to a point where I am so busy, and I have a 2-week-old daughter.
Congratulations.
So my why has shifted dramatically. And so now my whole goal is to find things that work really, really well, add my flavor to it, and bring somebody in to run it to help other people be successful.
That's great.
And so I think that's the goal for me now. Is the goal is to be a silent millionaire.
Okay.
To be behind the scenes, having people that are thriving, that are out in the forefront, and I'm just building in the background.
Well, Shane, you have one heck of a story. I love it. That's it for me. Do you guys have any questions for Shane?
I actually do have a question. So, obviously, you're super passionate, great personality. How do you translate that to the people that work with you? And do you feel like as you step back, is it going to lose some of the Shane special touch, or how do you manage that?
That's a constant fear. Is the less you're involved, the less you're involved, right? And we're all really passionate about what we do and our specific way of doing it, right? So it's a constant reminder for me. It's something that I am actively involved daily. I mean, we were talking through COVID. I was sitting in my office by myself for 12 months. I didn't want to work from home because I wanted to be there, right? I wanted to be present in my office, even so my staff knew that I was confident that we were going to make it through. So I think I'm present, and that's a big thing for me. And so when I travel and I'm gone, I try not to be gone very long. I try to be present through Zoom and through video. And we've been doing that for years anyways, because I have, staff in Florida, I have staff in Utah, Arizona, Eastern Washington. So for us, it was finding the right culture fit. And I think it's a lot easier to keep your culture when you're not having to fight to bring your people with you in that mindset. And so we just found people that embraced what we wanted to do with limited to no experience. Because, when I became a fireman, I had no experience. And you wouldn't know that the guy driving the $1 million fire truck down the street started 3 months ago.
Yeah.
You'd think this was like a 20-year vet, and you'd have no clue. So it was about repetition, learning something, surrounding yourself with people that were far wiser than I ever was, and then really pushing my culture regardless of what the outsiders would say. Because my companies would say, hey, you really shouldn't push this. And I'm like, this is my thing. This is what I'm going to do. And so that's where ultimately I built Dwell, was because I just couldn't find a company that did it the way I did it.
Fantastic. I love that, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, each of you, for being here today, sharing your story, sharing your journey, and thank you for tuning in. That's the end of the show.